Last week, we just completed the third book of Torah, the book of Numbers, Bamidbar. This book, to me, provided me more details of things that were going on in the book of Exodus. It seems to me it was helpful to study Exodus and Numbers side by side because there were so many missing parts, for me at least, in the book of Exodus that Numbers was able to fill in for me, especially when it came to the building, getting prepared for the tabernacle, and anointing and getting the priesthood set up. Welcome to Reconcile, the kingdom where we work towards becoming a harmony of the whole word of truth. My name is Patrice Robinson, and I appreciate you coming by here on today. We're just going to do a quick summary of the book of Numbers. This third book is very interesting. This book began with the census of the warriors. Remember, this is the second year, the second day of the second month. The warrior census was for 20 years and older without counting the Levites. The Levites had their own duties, the duty of the tabernacle and ministering to Yehovah. Throughout the chapter, I noticed how organized Yehovah was, even down to the campground. You can't just set up a tent anywhere and just sleep where you wanted to or house yourself where you wanted to. It had to be set up according to the tribe, with the Levites surrounding the tabernacle. The priesthood was established through the bloodline of Aaron. Many people, even I in the past, truly thought the entire tribe of the Levites were priests. The priesthood is only from the bloodline of Aaron. The other Levites had other duties in the tabernacle. This leads me to Korah. From the descendant of Korah, the second son of Levi, Korah was not happy with his duties, and he challenged Moses and Aaron, along with 250 other people from different tribes, Reuben too, which ended up being swallowed up by the earth. This is the time Yehovah had enough, and so he had them bring the staffs, and he calls Aaron's staff to bud to show he is the chosen bloodline, the priesthood, the high priest. I need you to keep this in mind. This is the development of the Levitical priesthood that requires to be born into that bloodline in order to be a priest. But the Melchizedek, that priesthood was here long before the Levitical priesthood. The Melchizedek, under that priesthood, under that order, you didn't have to be born under the tribal bloodline of Aaron. I had to have a specific tribe of a mother or a father. This is why Yeshua priesthood came after the order of Melchizedek, not from the Levitical priesthood. The book of Numbers also provides information on sacrificial and other rulings from the people to follow. The test of adultery, defilement, Nazareth, and much, much more. This book is also giving details on the setting of the tabernacle, the anointing of the priests. Also find it interesting that we have the first celebrated Passover in the second year of the first month. In other words, it takes place prior to the census of the people in that same year. Now, chapter 10 is about the silver trumpets. It's the appointed times of them to be blown. There were specific times, again, for that silver trumpet to be blown. Now, some seem to think it's just for war, but the shofar is important to many of the alerts of the new moon. So every new month, alert of the feast, when the feast is starting, war, and to gather the people and more. Then we continue with this chapter with people complaining. We even have Miriam and Aaron complaining about Moses' wife. Now, I could not understand that. I still seem a little confused by this because just think about it. Joseph's sons were Egyptian, were by an Egyptian wife. Judah's children were from a Canaanite woman, and the list goes on. I guess people can find anything to complain about, which it did not end well for Miriam. We have the kingdom. We have the congregation, the assembly, the ecclesia, the church, who should be ready to take possession of the promised land. So they sent out spies to check it out. Needless to say, the people looked at the other nations, the other people, the height and all that, and fear set in, and they end up facing the consequences of trying to reject what God told them to do. They missed out on the promised land and was sentenced for 40 years wandering, even after they've been there at least maybe a couple of years. Well, later in the chapters, we have this person by the name of Balaam, who is aware of the God of Yehovah, the God of the Israelites. He was aware of Yehovah. He spoke and he heard the voice of Yehovah, but he was for hire. He had the gift, but he was prostituting himself. He was putting himself up for the highest bidder. He is the one that told Balak to send the Midianite women to get the men, the children of Israel, to worship their God, which led to that plague. He sent the Midianite temple prostitutes to the children of Israel. There is so much, not only in the book of Numbers, but there's so much to learn in the Torah itself. And this can become overwhelming and seem impossible, mainly because many of us came from the background of the Christian faith. That majority of the Torah was not taught and was skipped over. It just isn't taught in most of the Christian mainstream or in most of the Christian faith. If you're not learning from the schoolmaster, what are you learning from? The New Testament, if you just learn from New Testament, by the way, the New Testament has bulk of this information from the Tanakh. Basically, if you don't learn from the foundation, from the schoolmaster, you're not fully understanding or reading and understanding the Brit Hadashah, the New Testament. You're not understanding everything that it has to offer. I encourage you to go through the playlist as you study to kind of help gives you some grasp, some understanding to explore the Hebrews of your Christian faith. Just keep in mind that this is only the first cycle of the book of Numbers. Each cycle is designed to go and dig deeper as we continue on. So we do have 3 cycles. So again, this is just the first cycle of the book of Numbers. Now join me on Saturday at 10 o'clock a.m. as we continue our journey of what did Yeshua teach. And join me on Tuesday at the Torah Chat Points as we actually begin Deuteronomy chapters 1 through 3. As always, man does not live by bread alone, but every word that proceeds out of the mouth of Yehovah. Have a blessed rest of the week, and thank you for joining me on today.